Now, if you thought this Penn State wrestling team was elite, legendary, just wait until next year.
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
That is right. You are locked on to Penn State Wrestling, and thank you so much for making Locked On Nittany Lions your first listen and watch every single day. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network out there. My name is Seyko, and I am your host of the show, credentialed media member for both Penn State Wrestling and Penn State Football. Senior night, end of the regular season, Penn State defeats Princeton 50-0. It's the final dual meet of Levi Haynes' career. We're going to go through the results and some takeaways from this matchup. Aaron Nagao, just sad news, devastating news. He is going to retire. Jeff Byers confirmed it, and then Cael Sanderson confirmed it as well in the post-match press conference. But Aaron Nagao is set to retire. We're going to talk about that decision. We're going to begin with looking to the future. Penn State Wrestling, well, they're great every year. They're elite every year. They set records. They win national championships. They dominate the competition. But if you thought this team, the past few teams, were legendary, just wait until next year. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. Be a part of this conversation because this ties in with segment 3 of how Penn State is only losing one senior starter in Levi Haynes, meaning that nine starters could be back in next year's lineup. Now, that's a conversation in itself. Who's going to be at what weight class, right? Who's going to redshirt? Who's going to be in the lineup? Who's going to be out of the lineup? So we'll get to be able to discuss that here. But 9 starters. Luke Lilladahl, back. Marcus Blaze. You factor in Masanouske Ono at 141 or 133, right? Blaze could be at 33. Ono could be at 41, depending on how they want to manage his weight. Ono, remember, he's still getting used to folk style and college, just being in college and managing weight throughout the season. Never really had to do that when it came to freestyle on a week-by-week basis like that. So Ono could be at 33 or 41. Shane Van Ness, 149. He returns. Yes, he will be a senior. He will be out of eligibility next season. PJ Duke or Tyler Kasak. Or do they try to get both of them in the lineup? Does Messenbrink go up to 174? Because the only spot that is vacated is Levi Haynes at 74. William Hankel could certainly go in there and be a 4-year starter at 174. What if Tyler Kasak moves all the way up to 74? Okay, so you have options at 57, 65, and 74. Whether Messenbrink just stays put or he goes up to 74. 84, Rocco Welsh is back with 2 more years of eligibility. Josh Barr is back with 2 more years of eligibility. Cole Mirasola is back with 3 more years of eligibility. There's your lineup. Your lineup is practically set in stone. You have 9 of the starters potentially returning in some capacity. And if they don't, okay, so PJ Duke might not be in the lineup next season, but Tyler Kasak takes back over. Braden Davis might not be in the lineup next season. Masanouske Ono takes over. It is crazy to think that this team is going to have 9 serious national title contenders or favorites. Luke Lilladahl would be a title contender favorite. Marcus Blaze, 133 so loaded, or Masanouske Ono. They will be title contenders. I can't list them as a favorite just because of how crazy 133 is. 141, okay, same deal, but if Blaze or Ono's at 141, I gotta imagine they would be a favorite at 41. Shane Van Ness, he was the favorite going into this season. Who's to say he's not the favorite going into next season, right? 157, PJ Duke. We'll see what happens this postseason. Tyler Kasak, those are national title contenders. Mitchell Messenbrink, title favorite. He will never be in the title contender category. No, he is the title favorite, whatever weight class he is in, and it's most likely going to be 65. But I want to show you the best lineup on paper that Penn State could have next season. Then you get to 74. William Hankel is an All-America contender, but people seem very confident that William Hankel is going to be ready right out of the gate. Okay, if that's the case, then do we put him in the fringe title contender conversation? Maybe. If he's ready to go as a redshirt freshman, then absolutely. But he would be the one that I guess has the most question marks about what his outlook is for the postseason. Rocco Welsh, Josh Barr. Rocco Welsh is going to be a title contender because 184 is very top heavy. 197, Josh Barr, it's his weight class. Heavyweight, Cael Mirasola, title contender. Not as strong as some others, but title contender now that he's getting situated with heavyweight. So you look at that lineup. The best version of this Penn State lineup, Luke Lilladahl, Masanouske Ono, Marcus Blaze. You could have Nate Desmond. What if Blaze redshirts Nate Desmond? I'm giving you the best version, though. It's a possibility. We'll talk about lineup construction plenty in the offseason, but just to get an idea of this team that I fully expect to reset those records and just dominate from start to finish. We're talking finalists, individual champions at that point, right? So Lilladahl, Ono, Blaze, Van Ness, Duke, Kasak. Probably Kasak at 57, Duke at 65, Messenbrink at 74. Again, I'm giving you the lineup that is best on paper. Not the most realistic, not the most likely, the one that's best on paper. That I think scores the most points, gets the most finalists, gets the most individual champions. So you go Kasak, Duke, whatever, flip-flop them. I don't think Duke's going to be able to hold 57 for another season. That's just my opinion. He knows better than I do. So Kasak at 57, Duke at 65, Messenbrink at 74, just for the sake of the best overall lineup. Rocco Welsh at 84, Josh Barr at 97, Cael Mirasola at heavyweight. I don't care what Oklahoma State's doing, Ohio State, Nebraska. They do not have a lineup that compares to that whatsoever. Oh, and the backups. The second string lineup. Once again, it is loaded and would probably say Ohio State, Oklahoma State, Nebraska, those are really good teams. Would this group beat any of them? Because I think this is a top 5 team. And the question is, do they beat the second-ranked superpowers in college wrestling? So that would be, this is what the backup lineup would look like. Brandon Wenzel at 125, Nate Desmond, Braden Davis, Connor Pierce, Joe Seeley, Jaden James, true freshman at 165. William Hankel, if we're going best overall. Again, he certainly has a case to just go right in at 174, and Messenbrink stays at 165. Logistics, different conversation. But Messenbrink is better than Hankel in a theoretical 174 wrestle-off. Asher Cunningham at 184. Connor Mirasola at 197. At this time, who knows what Penn State does at the heavyweight spot in the future. But Dawson Bundy right now would be the backup at heavyweight. We haven't seen much of him. So Nate Desmond is an All-America contender. Remember, he beat Luke Lilladahl. So is he a fringe national title contender, right? At 133. Braden Davis, and that's crazy to think, at 133 with how loaded that weight class is. Braden Davis, I know he's had his ups and his downs this season, but he placed 5th at NCAAs. Connor Pierce wins every tournament you send him to. He's just been blocked by Shane Van Ness or somebody else. Same thing with Joe Seeley. Joe Seeley's a former top 3 pound-for-pound recruit. Jaden James is a top 3 pound-for-pound recruit. William Hankel, Asher Cunningham, Connor Mirasola. These are all guys that anywhere else, they would be on the podium at a minimum. That's what Penn State's team is going to look like next season. So, good luck. I know this is mostly par for the course. And then even if we want to look even beyond that, Shane Van Ness and Mitchell Messenbrink are the only ones that graduate after next season, which means they're going to return 8 starters again. And they get to shuffle the deck in some capacity. Who's going to redshirt? Who's going to go where, right? That's the program that Cael Sanderson has built. So that's just a brief glimpse into the future. Let me know your thoughts on how you think the lineup would actually be constructed, but I wanted to give you the best overall version in my mind. We got to talk about some devastating news. Aaron Nagao, set to retire. Once upon a time, an NCAA place winner, all the potential in the world when he transferred to Penn State, is now calling it quits because of ongoing injuries. We'll discuss that next here and more about the Princeton duel coming up next on Locked On Nittany Lions. And this episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. We're looking at every aspect of the draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which ones just might be sleepers. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and only one is going to take the top spot. 5 Hour Energy has a wide variety of flavors, something for everyone. 5 Hour Energy shots give you a boost with 0 sugar. 5 Hour Energy has a lot of upcoming flavor innovations planned. Now I'm going to draft my favorite flavor. I'm going to go with Hawaiian Breeze. You get to feel the breeze and taste the caffeine. It's made with passion fruit, orange, and guava flavors. It's sweet yet smooth, tangy yet tart. So it's that kind of versatility that you're looking for in a top draft pick. Some other flavors that you yourself might select number 1 overall: cotton candy, confetti craze, fruity rainbow, cherry, grape, berry. The options are endless. You can find your new favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. That's the number 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Have you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? Well, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Now, here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right. We're talking flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can actually make a deep run here, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Futures this time of year, they're great. Whether you're picking a team to win a conference title or the championship itself, it adds the extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can your pick cash, but it could also send you to the NBA Finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Did you know you can get Locked On Nittany Lions ad-free? That's right. If you're a member of the Everydayer Club, you will also get access to a members-only Discord server to talk about all things Penn State. Visit LockedOnNittanyLions.supercast.com or check the link down in the show notes to learn more. I am absolutely gutted. I do want to be transparent and say that ultimately, I'm not surprised by this. I'm devastated. I'm heartbroken for Aaron Nagao. But with the amount of injuries that he has dealt with over the course of his career and re-aggravating the same shoulder injury that he had surgery on, and it was very serious, and Cael Sanderson was very direct with us when we would ask, when we would talk about it, saying, Aaron Nagao's coming off of a very serious injury, but he's getting back into it, and then he re-aggravates the same injury, and it's just, can you move forward at that point? And the answer was no. And Nagao ended up walking at senior night. He's got 1 year of eligibility remaining, but he's going to forego it. Jeff Byers is the one that broke the news accordingly, right? He's the voice of Penn State Wrestling. I'm listening to the Penn State Sports Network and the radio broadcast, and Jeff Byers, hey, he's going through senior night and talking about Levi Haynes and Lucas Cochran and Sam Beckett. They walked the previous season, but they were super seniors on this group. Levi Haynes did 4 years. I can't believe that, right? Well, we'll talk more about that later on in the show, specifically about Levi Haynes. Aaron Nagao, okay, he's walking at senior night. And then Jeff Byers shares the news that he is going to retire because of the injuries that he's dealt with. And it really is just, it's unfortunate. All the potential in the world. High aspirations coming into Penn State. Took 5th place at NCAAs at Minnesota. Okay, this is somebody that, hey, with the right training, with the right environment, could really flourish. If he can do that at Minnesota, Okay, you bring him over to Penn State and you give him all of the elite coaching. And Minnesota's a good program, don't get right. He placed 5th at Minnesota. That's not an accident, but we know the level of Penn State, right? So Nagao settles in at Penn State, and again, up and down first season. Okay, is he going to be an All-American? But even in that first season, dealt with illnesses. I don't want to speak to any injuries or things like that, but he was in and out of the lineup. And I remember covering it that year. It's, okay, is Nagao going to be okay? Is he going to be 100%? And he never was. Regardless of the circumstances that year, he was never 100% that season. And then he ultimately did not place at NCAAs. Okay, and then going into next season, and then that's where the serious injury happens. And it's a long-term injury, and it's a shoulder injury that has just been following him for these past couple of years now. He gave it a go this year, and it looked like he was going to be the guy at 141. Beats out Braden Davis. Well, he's in the starting lineup, so he had to have. Starts the year off at 141 as the guy. Looks good. Shook off the rust. Good first bout against Oklahoma. Hey, here's the return of Aaron Nagao. Penn State fans should be excited. This guy can score. This guy can scramble. He fits in exactly with what Penn State wants to do. Then he goes to the Army Black Knight Invitational and he gets hurt. And as a Penn State fan, you're hoping it's not the same. It's not the same injury, right? It's not the same shoulder. It's not that same upper body injury that he's been dealing with. But it was. And then he tries to give it a go over the course of other tournaments that are outside of the dual meets, and it doesn't work. Aaron Nagao does not make this decision lightly. He's a competitor. He's a warrior. He's a fighter, or else he wouldn't have keep coming back, right? He kept trying and trying and went through every possible measure to get to that point. And at the end of the day, it doesn't get to that point where he could return, be at full strength, and be able to compete the way that he's supposed to, the way that he could at his max potential. And that's what's devastating. That's what's heartbreaking, is that Nagao went through all of the personal battles, talked about how it changed his perspective. He really leaned into his faith. He embraced what Penn State was willing to do. He trusted Penn State's plan. He trusted because he acknowledged, hey, it's easy just to hit the portal. It's easy to go somewhere else and start over with less competition. And he took the risk knowing, okay, I'm coming off of an injury. It is tough to crack the starting lineup at Penn State under any circumstances, whether you're dealing with health issues or not, even when you're 110%. And he took that chance and he battled every single obstacle. And this was robbed from him. He did everything right. He did everything correctly. And it still wasn't enough for him to compete and get back to where he was when he was, if we can call it, in his prime before the injuries. So Penn State fans, of course, very supportive from what I've seen on social media. It's not news that you want to discuss, but Nagao, he will be a coach, right? Cael Sanderson talked about that. I see that from him, the way that he operates, the way that he talked to us in the media availability sessions. You can just see it that Aaron Nagao is a people person, that he has almost, I just see that he can be a teacher of some sort. So I hope that's what's in the future for him. But I know that Cael said whatever he does, he's going to be successful in any endeavor, and I would attest to that too. You can just gather that from speaking to him for 5 to 10 minutes. So outstanding human being. He was a great wrestler, and he's a much better person when you get the chance to talk to him. So hopefully Nagao's able to stick around in some sort of capacity, but we'll see what ultimately the future holds for him. Now, more went down on senior night for Penn State. 86 dual meet victories in a row, 50-0, eighth shutout of the season. Some takeaways, though, because Penn State didn't look its sharpest across the board. Some wrestlers look better than others. Levi Haynes gets a pin in his final dual meet as a Penn State wrestler. We're going to talk about all that coming up next here on Locked On Nittany Lions.
I'm Clea Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. It was a heavyweight showdown between number 3 South Carolina and number 7 LSU, and the Gamecocks rose to the occasion. South Carolina secured a hard-fought 79-72 victory to stay atop the SEC standings, using a balanced offensive attack to outlast the Tigers. Tessa Johnson led the way with 21 points, while Raven Johnson added 19. Medina Okot dominated the paint with a double-double, finishing with 12 points and 17 rebounds, while Joyce Edwards chipped in 10 points to round out the scoring. With the statement win, the Gamecocks now turn their attention to a road matchup at number 23 Alabama on Thursday. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Final segment of Locked On Nittany Lions. We'll start with Levi Haynes first here in this segment because he's the only senior starter in this lineup that is going to move on, right? 9 starters will be returning next season. Whether they're in the lineup, all in the lineup or not, is to be determined. But I want to begin with Levi Haynes and then just go through some of the other results, right? Luke Lilladahl doesn't get a takedown and wins by disqualification. Braden Davis's match was a little bit of a tense one, close one against an unranked opponent. And just overall, the team didn't necessarily seem like they were at their highest gear. And I mean, Jeff Byers kept saying it, that they just seem, Shane Van Ness, Braden Davis, these guys just seemed a little exhausted, probably because their training is amped up as they head into the postseason. So I think this is all by design. I don't take any concerns away from it. I want to start with Levi Haynes, though, because what a career he's had. He's only lost 4 matches, if I have that correct. I think I do. 4 matches in his career. And I fully believe that it's going to stay that way because this is his weight class to lose. He is the favorite at 174. He is setting up to have an illustrious career in the sport of wrestling. I imagine he sticks with Penn State. I don't see him going anywhere, right? He committed to Penn State when it made sense to, right? But he just knew. He knew there were no questions. There were no drawbacks. He just knew he wanted to be here. It didn't matter what his outlook looked like at the time, right? He was battling for a 157 spot when he was a true freshman. It is uncharacteristic in the sport to do 4 years on the team and then that's it. No red shirt, nothing. No additional eligibility. He was a 4-year starter and that was that. 157 gets to the title. Hey, he doesn't win. That is a tough matchup against Austin O'Connor back in the day. It seems so far away, but it went by so quickly for Haynes. And then he gets the gold medal. He wins an NCAA title his sophomore year, true sophomore. True junior, runs into Dean Hamity. Just a little too much of a mismatch there at the time, but then he gets his revenge on the freestyle circuit, right? If you follow along with that, he made Hamity pay. Misses out on the gold, but hey, he gets the bronze. So a second, first, and third place finish, and this is his weight class to lose. I fully expect him to. That's just the caliber of wrestler that Levi Haynes is. Phenomenal leader. If you wanted to identify a captain on the team, it would be Levi Haynes. Now, Penn State Wrestling doesn't do captains, but he's the captain. You know that he is the unnamed captain here for this Penn State Wrestling team. His personality, the way that he carries himself, I imagine he would go into coaching. at some point, but I fully expect him. When he just took silver after not being an avid freestyle wrestler, right? He picked it up at Penn State. Most of these wrestlers now come in with a freestyle background. PJ Duke, Marcus Blaze, Luke Lilladahl, the Mirasola twins, right? Levi Haynes picked it up along the way, and then he takes second on the world stage when he's still a rookie in this instance. Yeah, he might be the Olympic representative. That's really far out, and I know what I'm getting into by saying that. But he would be in the mix. He would be in the mix of being the United States representative, I imagine, at 79 kilos. He will be strongly in the mix. Find me another name, because I'm picking Levi Haynes at this point in time. And I know the Summer Olympics, we're in the Winter Olympics. The Summer Olympics are still a couple years away. But that's what I project for the future of Levi Haynes. So he gets a pin in his senior night matchup against Princeton, which is extremely fitting, right? You kind of knew that was going to happen. And Penn State at 50-0 match probably says, oh, Penn State business as usual, which it was, right? But you start with Luke Lilladahl's match against a top 15 wrestler in Mark Anthony McGowan, and he wins by disqualification. Lilladahl set the pace. This was just weird. It was an odd match. McGowan just kept backing up and got hit with enough stall calls to say, that's it. We're done. Lilladahl doesn't even get a takedown. Imagine that, a matchup where Luke Lilladahl wins and doesn't get a takedown. Okay, that's how we're starting this one off. Marcus Blaze against the number 32 ranked wrestler. Major decision, right? We know that Blaze is typically going to get a tech fall, maybe even a pin. But again, Blaze, Davis, and Van Ness, kind of the three of them in a row, just didn't look like themselves. And I don't put too much stock into that. I know that Penn State, again, they really amp up the training, right? Penn State wrestling practices are difficult. So, and if they practice and if they train going into this matchup, it is all in preparation. So Blaze not having a second period tech fall, I'm not going to be worried about here. Okay, this is all a part of the process. They're gearing up for the postseason. Same thing with Braden Davis. Oh, but Braden Davis, it was an unranked wrestler. I will provide some context here. Matthew Martino of Princeton is a young up-and-coming wrestler. So he's unranked. He just pinned CJ Composto, and maybe you recognize that name. He is an NCAA qualifier that Bo Bartlett actually met back in NCAAs just last season. I think it was last season. Maybe it was the year before. But CJ Composto is a really good wrestler. And Matthew Martino, Davis's opponent this time around, he could upset somebody if he goes on a nice run in the postseason with the Ivy League tournament, and then if he qualifies for NCAA. So that's to be determined. But Martino is not some pushover, okay? But Davis, remember, Davis has been in and out of the lineup. He's going through his own training regimen to get caught up with everybody else. So everyone's had a full dual meet season. Nagao was the starter originally, and Davis was supposed to redshirt, and then you got to ramp him up going into the postseason. So Davis, again, it's concerning, but I will give it a pass and just kind of hope that, hey, with the Big Ten tournament looming and NCAAs, that these 2 weeks are pivotal for Davis. And I still don't fully expect to see the best out of him until NCAA. So we still might see some speed bumps along the way for Davis at the Big Ten tournament, because he's just not on the same track right now as everybody else. Hey, again, Shane Van Ness did not look perfect, but against Rivera, who's a top 15 wrestler, again, a major decision against somebody who could maybe find their way onto the podium as an All-American. PJ Duke, tech fall. That's business as usual. Mitchell Messenbrink making a statement, pinning a top 20 opponent in Ty Whalen. That's going to be great for trying to get the Hodge Trophy, right? That's different about Messenbrink this season. It was always tech falls. Now you incorporate the pins. Levi Haynes, who probably wants to make a case for himself for the Hodge Trophy, gets a pin. Rocco Welsh, tech fall. Josh Barr winning by a pin. And Cole Mirasola getting a tech fall. And Mirasola, the speed was the difference, the athleticism, the conditioning. His opponent weighed in at 252 pounds. Mirasola just under 227 and a tech fall in under 4 minutes. So that's where Mirasola, okay, well, what about the larger, heavier weights? How is he going to handle somebody if he runs into Luke Luffman again, somebody like that, right, from Illinois, who is a larger heavyweight, right? He's not in the 230-pound range. Well, Mirasola is just going to outclass him with speed, conditioning, and everything else. Okay, so he doesn't necessarily have the strength. He does. He's strong. I'm not saying that to discredit Mirasola. I'm saying when you compare them, okay, this guy might be stronger, this guy might be heavier, but that's where you win on smarts, technique, conditioning. And Mirasola has acknowledged that. He said, I believe, that I'm a national title contender here, and I'm going to trust my conditioning. So that was on full display against Princeton there. Penn State, 86 dual meet victories in a row. That streak's going to carry over into next season. They still got to break some of the other records, the JUCO record, the NAIA record too. And I fully expect them to get it, especially with what we discussed in segment 1. Nobody's stopping them. Nobody's stopping them. So 15-0 over Princeton, senior night, another regular season in the books. And now we get to focus on Big Tens in 2 weeks and then eventually the NCAA tournament. It's all going to be right here on Locked On Nittany Lions. We're going to talk about all of it, previews, recaps, everything you need to follow this Penn State wrestling team. My name is Zach Seyko. I'm your host as always. Hey, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me on another conversation about Penn State wrestling. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. Leave a like on this episode if you enjoyed it. Share it with friends and family. And if you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts, do that to keep up with all the latest conversations around Penn State wrestling and your favorite Penn State sports teams right here on Locked On Nittany Lions.